Hello everyone and welcome back to the beautiful island of Elba. We're in the City Planner Place Community Buildoff challenge. And, a few episodes in, I think overall our city or village looks actually really nice. In this episode, it is time for us to start expanding into this plot of land that we have, connected. I think it was last episode or even the episode before. It's both connected to our industry area back here, as well as our regular residential area. And the plan for this part here would be to make it a bit more of a touristy center. However, not exclusively so. So if we look at the terrain, it is all pretty flat. Let me actually just flatten out those two blemishes in here. I think this area in the front here would be a perfect beach area. And that corner right there probably be good for some beachfront housing. I haven't actually used a lot of the, as some people call it, palm tree DLC that was released. So this would be a good opportunity to do so. And also I think up here would be a great spot to place another cemetery. In the past, or the last few episodes, we've had some issues with sort of death care in our city, and it does come in waves where all of our hearses are just like super busy. So I think up here as like a park and still kind of like a tourist place would be quite nice. We can even connect it up to our collector here through a road this way, and then connect it to the main part down here with a road down the side of the mountain right here. All right, so I think that will be the plan. We're also gonna put down a supermarket. I think in this corner right there would be great, because again, when you have tourists, depending on who your tourists are, they might want to just pick up some food or some drinks to have it's more of the budget traveling kind. So I think a supermarket in this corner would be great. It also helps our people to get their groceries as they're either coming home from the industry area or just from our residential spot. All right. Before I do anything, I'm first going to do a little bit of pre-grading in the hope that things will kind of pan out. The cemetery is actually quite massive, so I think I will be struggling a little bit on putting this in properly. But maybe if I just get the buildings to be approximately even, the rest could be, as uneven as it wants. But we're going to play around a little bit, and then we're going to see how things go. So without further ado, let's do a little bit of pre-grading. Now this will be our beach property area, and I've went a little bit too far and already put in a small road network, but I think this will do just fine. So let me actually just go ahead and put down some waterfront housing zoning before we then continue on. Alright, our beach property housing have zoned in. Don't quite know how realistic that would be. like the way they look. But overall, it's a nice little community with a bit more expensive housing, and that, you know, I can absolutely get behind. I've also decided to put in a little park area up here at the end of this street, at the end of, well, right in front of Chester Lane, where people can just sit, watch the boats, watch the ocean, have maybe little family picnics. I think this is an amazing opportunity for our little quaint village here to get some additional value out of this. One more thing that I want to do up here is we're gonna give them a small local beach just down here, and then put a road down this way. This will actually fulfill two purposes. One, we can remove the zoning from this side of from this road and hopefully face it on this road, but we'll see about that. But also, again, it's just another amenity for the community right here that hopefully they could share. All right, that gave us a little pocket right here where we can put in another house, so let's do that right away. And then, as per usual, nothing fancy for our beach, just selecting the sand surface and creating a bit of a sand beach just over here. There we go. Looking nice. And while we're at it, let's actually put down some trees. Oh, interesting. Oh, because it's a sapling. That's a tiny one. So let's just go ahead, place a couple along the road, and then a few more on the side of the beach. All right, here we go. Small, quaint, overall not too bad. One little thing of decoration that would be nice down here would be a gazebo. So let's place that in here as well. You are a baby oak tree. Unfortunately, that means you're gonna be gone, because the gazebo, I think, would be excellent down here. There we go, gazebo in. And with that, this little community is already done. Next, let's focus on the supermarket. In this corner, we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do a bit of pre-grading and fit in the road, and then we'll be right back. But first, let's actually have a look at this. The supermarket should be somewhere in here. Canopy. Where is the supermarket? Oh, probably down Morrissey's. So it is actually quite big, but considering that it will serve the entire community, I think overall that is pretty nice. So there will be quite a bit of grading unless we move the road a little bit, and I think that's exactly what we're gonna do. All right, so I'm gonna do that, and then I'll be right back to chat some more. Alright, the road is in, and I've created a couple of connection pieces. I think I want the supermarket to face sort of the front and have the parking somewhere in the back. Now, that will be a bit finicky. Actually, maybe not. If I could just face it like that. There we go. Although it seems like, see that little container at the bottom? That might be the trash. So let's actually face it the other way. But the opening area is over here. No, it has to be this way. Oh, it's not trash. It's just for the store's parking in itself. Like more of a secluded area. So I do appreciate that. And this way... Oh, this is the main entrance. All right. Let's move it around after all. Here we go. Even though this is the prettier side. Ooh, this is a tough one, isn't it? Because technically you see this. It doesn't seem like a lot. And I don't know if the store would appreciate the pretty side facing the other way. So let's go ahead and place it like this again, while the entrance is over here. At least this part and the branding, the company branding are actually facing the correct way. We're also gonna go ahead and zone a little bit more commercial in here. And I'm thinking we're also gonna add a small office building or office buildings right here. More of administrative buildings for the entire area, which, you know, at least we're pretending that this is the case. And the rest can just be the very regular, and we can do the generic version of the businesses. Let's actually have a look what the EU high density would do with this corner. All right, so we're still gonna figure out the density of our commercial part, but overall this might actually not be too bad, because I could see this being more of a shopping area all around, where our tourists can go and do some additional shopping for whatever their needs are. So when it comes to walkability in this area, I think sidewalks would actually make a ton of sense. Although it is a small island in Italy, so there probably doesn't need to be that much of a sidewalk ultimately. Maybe we'll just go with the alleyways. We're assuming people are driving slow, you know, and walking on the street, not too bad, especially for an island like this. All right, the way I'm trying to organize this entire touristy area, I think the Grand Dynasty Hotel will actually be a cornerstone all the way over here, just nice and snug against the hillside. And that will give us the guideline for the road that we want to place in front of it. So for now, I'm going to place this down. And that means we need the road right in front. Maybe we'll have sort of a little bit of road hierarchy moving in here, replacing some of these with the regular roads that have sidewalks attached to it. And then we'll have that also front facing the hotel and kind of create a little bit of a loop around here. Well, that actually fits almost perfectly. Key point is it's almost. All right, that obviously doesn't work. There we go. And now we smoothly turn that into that other road. All right, this gives us part of the connection. And like I said, I think a little almost roundabout approach to the road network down here would make a ton of sense. So we're gonna have like a circular route going all the way around here and then ending up back in this entrance right there. In addition, because we are turning this into a beach, I think some parking would be nice here, so we will look into the angled parking road or one of the roads with the parking just off the side But before we do all of that, it is time to create a little bit, not just a little bit, to create a beach area over this way. So no need to watch me do this in a sense, so I will be right back. All right, beach area is in, and I think it actually turned out pretty well. I love that little beach island in the front here. Could see kids playing around there, like during the tide. Yeah, kind of just being able to walk over here. Overall, I think that looks pretty great. We do need to make sure that the trees are gone, the oak trees, because they wouldn't be growing on the beach. So I'm gonna quickly do that, at least. Let's actually remove them all for now. All right, and for the ones that we have just removed, we're just gonna place a few more in here. And because they're hanging so low, I'm not gonna use them as part of the roadside decoration. But overall, this part doesn't look too bad, and it will give a little bit of shelter for the people along that side of the beach without, you know, kind of going overly intense on it. All right, also gonna add a few more trees over this way. And just sprinkling in a few more around here. Now we are gonna consider this being a well-maintained area. So what we are going to do is at the end of the beach, we're just gonna line it all up with some palm trees, and I'm gonna do this again without talking too much. So I'll be right back to chat some more. And we're not going to do this all around here, but this will be sort of the main part of the beach that, you know, the tourist industry would kind of be utilizing and advertising. All right, still need to figure out the entire road system. And while I was talking about creating some off-road parking, I don't know if that would be too realistic. So instead, let's have a look into our parking lots. And we can almost fit a very large parking lot in here. Now it does overlap the tiniest amount with our surface right here. So that is fixable, even though some of the trees that we just planted will be removed. But overall, I think that is all right. All right, just like that. Put in the parking lot right here. And then we're going to, again, decorate or put a few more trees back in around here. Basically the ones that we have just removed. All right, that is already it. We're gonna make sure that we're connecting this parking lot up. And this can be for our local citizens as well as whoever comes with their cars, although technically I guess they could technically come by boat with their car. There's usually an option to pay for your car for transfer. But yeah, anyways. So because we've put this in, we're gonna utilize the end part here as a way of, again, guiding the rest of our road network. So gonna extend this a little bit further. And even though it will be working as kind of a collector, I'm not too worried about having right angles in there. However, that main connection in the center, we're just gonna smoothly turn into here. And this again gives us a little bit of the backbone of what our area will look like. Now this is the European high density commercial. I'm a bit surprised. I kind of, yeah, not quite what I would have expected, but let's keep adding these. Again, as a bit of a shopping area right here without making them too deep. All right, there we go. So you could go shopping at Morrison's and maybe there's some clothes shopping in there or toy factories, even though this is an electronics store. I guess for like cameras and things like this, it kind of makes sense. We're also gonna add a few more low density commercial buildings in here. Ooh. Pause. I accidentally deleted you. Didn't want to do that. Just to round off our sort of shopping corner right there. All right, with that, we have zoned the entire shopping area. Now we need to complete our road network here. And we're gonna build this on an alley system. So I'm not gonna go into too much redefined area. I think there would be one connecting alleyway down here that actually goes much closer to the beach. So we're gonna put this down and I'm just gonna zone the rest around it, trying to keep at least somewhat right angles moving forward. All right, with that, I am going to talk to you in a little bit again. Sorry about that, I got a phone call. On the bright side, it means we made a ton of money. So sometimes it is good to just have your simulation simulate. All right, going to add one more route back through here. And with that, we kind of have our overall road network, at least the front part, laid out. Let's have a quick check on it. So I think I want a cul-de-sac. Maybe we should actually unlock the larger ones. So going into our development tree, roundabouts, just one development point, happy to do that. And with that, we can actually add larger cul-de-sacs. So that looks, well, okay. The trees will grow up, I'm pretty sure. So overall, not too bad. I'm wondering now if we should turn this actually into a roundabout as like a main access area. And we could do the same with this one. So let's have a look. Probably the medium one is probably too large. Yeah, kind of figured. Even this one is apparently a bit too large. Interesting. We could still place it here as a roundabout, which we're actually just gonna do. And let me see if I can move this a little bit further down. Now I can. Let's turn off the snapping so we can wiggle it a bit more. Probably not need to throw it all the way down here. Kind of want to keep that tree. Overlapping items. All right, so let's fix the surface right here. That should already be enough, and do the moving yet again. All right, that might already be enough. Ooh. And then let's see if we can't fit a roundabout in here. This will destroy those two buildings, but in all honesty, I'm okay with it. Let's see our zoning. There's nothing left here to zone, which I guess is fine as well. But this way, people should have an easier time getting in and out of this area. I'm hoping, at least. All right. Now, next part, we're still gonna need to do the roads over here. So I'm gonna do that and I'll be right back. All right, I think overall that looks kind of nice. Let's do one more connection actually over here. Because there's already a crossing in there, so why not utilize it fully? And with that, we are good to go. I specifically didn't move this road into this area right here. What are they all doing? Anyways. But, you know what? That's still all right. So I think what we want to do in this particular area is place a bunch more of our signature buildings. But more importantly, let's go back into our development tree, into the park section, and unlock everything until tourist attractions. So that's a lot of development points, but we do have a ton, so we should overall be fine. And now we have all of this available. And I do want to make sure we place some of the tourist attractions first. The statue, it is a, I guess a Greek philosopher. So it kind of makes sense to have that in here. Somewhere at least. And we could actually just place it in that corner up there. I don't think it would be that close to the beach, to be honest. So let's go ahead and place it down here. All right. It is kind of overlooking that hotel, but that is overall fair. And we do have a little bit more space for larger parks over this way. Is that a large playground? A hedge park? No. Here we go. Perfect. So this would be a dog activity park. So we have another one that actually fits in there. Well, some of them are humongous. And I'm assuming this one is even bigger. Yep, it is. Neo barracks. Interesting. Okay, let's go into our regular sized parks and see if some of these wouldn't be a bit more appropriate. Now that kind of fits. The park cafe, that would be kind of nice over here as well. Right next to the hotel, so let's place one of those in there. And then we're gonna place a city park on the other side, leaving a lot of space for a bit more landscaping over here. And this part we're just going to connect up with our pedestrian paths and just snake it in here. Again, filling this out in a little bit with some more trees and other decorations, which I think will ultimately look quite nice. All right, back into the tourist area. Observation. Whoa. That thing is a little bit too big, so I think a western observation tower might be nice. Although, in all honesty, placing something like this up the hill would have definitely some attraction. Okay, so we're gonna save that. Water park, it is right next to the beach. Still makes sense, I would say. Let's see where we could actually place this. Could even place that over here in the corner, a little bit away from the beach, so people would go there if... Actually, I don't know when. Guess when they don't want to go into the ocean. So let's place it. The medieval castle won't actually quite fit in here. I'd love to have the art gallery in here somewhere. And that makes me think all of that road system that we have placed up here kind of just needs to go. And then we can place the art gallery right there. And again, creating a little bit more of a touristy attraction vibe in this section. All right, what else do we have? We do have some Chinese assets. I don't quite know if they really make sense. And again, the observation tower. Oh, it was actually the Chinese observation tower. That's a little bit smaller. Interesting. Anyways, I think overall that will be fine. Some sports parks could be nice, not a community pool, but maybe just a basketball center. And that actually fits in here really nicely. So, sports hub pavilion, game, wow. All right, apex climbing. No, let's stick with the basketball center. And again, also in part because it fits in here perfectly. All right, there are a few more parks that I want to scatter around. We could have a few more additional regular sports parks if it actually fits. So this would be tennis. Tennis could be nice. Skate park, not so much. Outdoor gym, we don't really need that. So let's actually place a tennis court right here. And yes, it is a bit of a prime spot, which makes me think actually we're placing it over this way. All right. Next thing we want to look a little bit more at are our commercial buildings. There are a few more hotels in here that I think will make sense to place in these areas. One is a hotel. It's the Sunshine Hotel, perfect fit. And I think we're placing it in this section right there, very close to the beach, which I think will just be perfect. To have some more inns. These might be, in a sense, a little bit more low-key. If we're placing it, this wasn't it a corner building? It is. So we could actually place it over this way, and we're just gonna do that directly flanked by that neighboring building. Now that actually doesn't look too great because again, it is a corner building. And because of the way this thing is set up, it won't work perfectly together. So let's move all of this just one more to the front. And then go back into this section right here. I think a gas station somewhere along the lines here would be good. This could actually be part of the supermarket area. So we're gonna place it right here, a small one. We do have a small island, so I'm not too worried about this. And then there are obviously some more restaurants and pubs that we can place that this area would kind of benefit from. We still haven't placed the Riverside Grill. Don't think it fits in this area particularly well, but that high quality restaurant actually makes a ton of sense to be in here. And I'm wondering, yeah, we can actually fit it over this way. Only thing we need to do is make sure we have a little bit of a pathing system going through here. So I'm gonna put a pedestrian path here and a pedestrian path right through there. All right. What other signature buildings do we have? A canopy cafe, definitely a cafe would be well suited for this area. So let's actually place it in the center here. At some point I really want to place that to go, espresso to go part. Let's also place a bookstore. Bookstores are a surprisingly good tourist attraction. Tourists love to go to bookstores. And I absolutely agree, because I love to go to bookstores as well. Trying to place this right in the middle because it seems to have road access. Nope, it doesn't actually connect it properly up. Can we move it even further? I think overall this will do, although now that I think about it, let's face it directly to the road and into the corner so we can do a little bit more landscaping around it. All right. In addition, a brewery. Now, I love a brewery in an area like this. I don't think it is that realistic, although if we remove this part here, we could actually put a brewery in this corner right there. But I think we're going to save the brewery for a slightly different spot. And but the nightlife club, that kind of makes sense, unfortunately, because tourists love nightlife experiences. So let's place it close to the hotels that we have put down, just over there, across from this park, and it lines up actually quite nicely. All right, next thing that we definitely need, and I think we're a little bit done with the signature building, although one more restaurant would probably be very nice. So let's place it over in this corner. But most importantly, we need additional parking. Now this is becoming quite the event area, which, you know, fair enough. And maybe we'll actually unlock the underground parking. So let's go into milestones. No, not milestones. We were in development. Go into roads and unlock the underground parking, which should allow us to, well, at least have a look at it. And it is quite big. This would be... It didn't fit, did it? No, that road is a little bit too far off to the side. So we have some parking here, but I think over this way we just need a ton more. Will it actually fit into this corner? It actually will. Not here, but right there. All right, some underground parking here, and I think that will overall do. Now, because of what it is, I think some high density buildings would actually make a ton of sense, but I'm not entirely sure which one will really look well. So let's go ahead and just plaster some in. And once they have grown in, we can always still make a decision. And yeah, I'm specifically picking larger lot sizes because I want to see how big some of these actually get. Because this is a bit intense, I want to say. Oh. Okay, are we out of water? This produces usage 100%, indeed. So let's add an extra pump in there and solve all of our water problems. We still have a sewage problem, and that is just not cutting it anymore. So temporary fix, and yes, definitely temporary. We're gonna add a second one in here. And as a next step, we need some water treatment areas. So we'll deal with that in a minute. All right, with that, I'm gonna pause for a little bit, and once these buildings have spawned in, we're gonna come back and talk about what might make sense in the area. Alright, I've just noticed that my microphone was muted, probably for the last hour or so. I'm gonna do a voiceover, and we're still gonna wrap this part up. Which basically just entails waiting until the garbage is finally picked up, and we can do a little city tour. Alright, finally a garbage truck is making its way here. And it's still not stopping there. How? Seriously. Alright. I gave up and decided to move it around. All we need to do now is make sure we're connecting this up. And then we can also remove this side street and just fill it in with a bit more trees. In the hope... Oh, garbage has actually been solved, which is good. However... Look at all the death and hospitalization over there. Man, what chaos. This might have been a result of the water shortage, but let's assume it'll sort itself out. So I think for now, let's pick one. Let's pick the motorbike. No. Oh, interesting. Things are taking longer because we have the entrance to the parking lot right here, which is just off that street. Very interesting.